Welcome back to Hazel Jane Tarot, and today I'm going to be showing you and having a chat about the R Black Tarot by Rich Black, and this is an independently produced tarot deck. I don't know very much about the creator. Rich Black is a graphic designer as far as I can tell, and I've been following his work on Instagram for a while, and I believe he's based in America. And beyond that, I don't really know very much about this creator, but I have been following the creation of this tarot deck as it's been slowly coming together over what feels like at least maybe 2 years at this stage. And the art has been, what I saw of it as it was being developed online was really impressive. So I was really excited about and looking forward to getting this deck. So as you can see, he's done a limited run. So I have deck 291 of 1,000, and this deck is just available through his website, which I will try to link below. I think there are some still available. Now, just very quickly get some production things out of the way. As you can see, it comes in this little folded cardboard box, which has a little embossed title and the R signature. And the cards themselves are quite, I don't know what I would say about this cardstock. They feel kind of like they don't have a core. I don't really know what that means. But it feels just like card, like a postcard or something like that, or a bookmark, that kind of card. They're pretty flexible, and as you can see, the corners haven't been rounded. Size-wise, they are smaller than a regular tarot card. They're more like playing card size. Now, my understanding is from following the creation of this deck on Instagram is that the creator got each of these cards printed separately and then assembled them into tarot decks. So what you can see when you line the deck up is that the cards aren't all the same size exactly. Like it's very minuscule differences, but it's not been printed in a traditional way that a tarot deck would be printed, like a deck of cards, so it doesn't come out of the box with those perfectly exact edges. And that does not bother me in the slightest, because I knew to expect that, because I'd seen the creator had posted, all these little piles of cards as he was assembling the decks by hand. And the fact that these decks have been assembled by hand is pretty, it adds a personal touch to it, doesn't it? I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to round the corners or not. I'll see how the deck handles as I get used to it. I thought I was going, before I received it, I was fairly sure I would, but there's something about the sharp corners and the squareness of it that works. So I'll maybe wait and see somebody else who's rounded their deck edges and see what that looks like. These are the backs. So they're sort of got this black and sort of what looks like kind of sigils or symbols in the background with the eye. So I'll start to put out some of the cards so you can see the style of this deck. So it's a kind of a, like if you look at R Black art on Instagram, like this style is the style that he brings to, posters and book covers and other, graphic design things that he seems to be doing. So this kind of limited color palette, lots of solid shapes and so on. And a friend of mine actually mentioned that this deck reminded them a little bit of the Spirit Within tarot. But as we get into the deck, you'll see one of the differences is that instead of just silhouettes, you do have facial expressions in this deck on a lot of the cards. So here we have the Fool, the Magician, the High Priestess, and the Empress. And one of the features that I've noticed in this deck is the continual use of symbols, not all of which I immediately understand. So there's some that I'll need to look up. So here, for example, we have the elemental symbols on the Magician card, with the phases of the moon. I'm not familiar with this symbol actually. On the High Priestess card, on the Empress card, we've got this triple spiral and the female symbol, so we've got, there's a lot of, I guess it's that, again, design quality to it, so he's used a lot of visual symbols to to represent things within the cards. And sometimes these are drawn from different cultures and religions and so on. So within the majors, each card is a different color. Like they're not, whereas you see a more consistent color palette to kind of bring the minors together. So there we have, you know, the contrasting with the Empress, the Emperor, the Hierophant, which I really like. One of the things I really like in the Hierophant is the keyhole in his head and the way his body is made of stars. Like some of these images I find very powerful actually. And this Lover's card is really interesting, maybe a little confronting, but where one of the people's body is arising up from the land and the other one is coming down from the clouds and made of sky. You can see the earth and the sky coming together, and it made me think about, you know, in ancient Greek mythology, where you have Uranus, the sky god, and Gaia, the earth goddess, coming together. And also these figures are quite androgynous, so we don't know necessarily the genders of these characters. And one of the things that sort of is a feature throughout this deck, you have a lot of these these bald-headed, shaven-headed figures, and some of them seem a little more masculine, some of them seem a little more feminine, but they are, you know, ambiguous. And overall, I would say the deck has quite a masculine feel, and I like that because I have a lot of very female-heavy decks, like the Triple Goddess Tarot or the Modern Witch Tarot, or, you know, decks that are all female. I have quite a few of those. This is not an all-male deck at all, but it overall, to me, has a slightly more masculine feel, which I feel is a nice addition to my tarot collection. So here we have the Chariot. And I think where this deck maybe differs, especially in the majors, from some decks, it's more symbolic than narrative, I feel, in the images. So here we have Strength, which I love. I love the colours. I love the blank space, this little creature that is able to survive in this absolutely unforgiving landscape. It's a very American version of Strength. Like, that type of landscape doesn't exist in Ireland. I'm not familiar with, I've never been in that kind of landscape, but I think it's a very effective image. And I love this Hermit. Just love the shapes of it, the silhouettes, and yeah, it's beautiful. Then the Wheel of Fortune. And again, we have a number of symbols used, some of which I'm not familiar with, so I'll have to look up. But very, you know, the Wheel of Fortune is very often depicted with the circle, but it's the circle within this very rigid shape, which is interesting. And then Justice. So we have the swords and the flowers. And continuing through the majors. So the Hanged Man I really find very interesting. Different meaning though, I think, to some other Hanged Mans that I've seen. Maybe reminds me more of the Devil, all the use of the chains and sort of, anyway. And then this Death is lovely. I hope it registers okay on camera. Yeah, you can see that pretty clearly. The moth, and the symbols, and the ferry boat or the boatman in the background. And Temperance. How difficult it would be to balance walking up those steps. Lovely colours in that one too. And the Devil, which is more traditional. Although we've got sort of very Pan-like character. These animals chained up. And then we've got the Tower, which is really interesting. Very much taken, I feel, a science look at the Tower, like the idea of science going wrong, or, you know, a disaster at a power plant, those kinds of things, which is a really contemporary way of looking at that, I think. I love this star. The Moon. And again, the keyhole, the third eye, and this really interesting kind of creature in the depths. I like that. And the moon is often depicted very feminine card, and that one again is this bald-headed character is more ambiguous. The sun. And then we have Judgment, which is a different take on Judgment. It's not one that immediately speaks to, you know, ascending in a really obvious way. I guess it's more of an inner experience. And then the world. And I really love this depiction of the world, that wiping out of the thing that you've created and as ascending to this next, you know, as you try to do the next thing, move to the next level, create the next mandala, you know, the sort of non-permanence of it. But again, a slightly different interpretation of the world card. So that's the majors. But I feel like where I really find the emotional punch in this deck is in the minor arcana. So we'll just go through these. So the cups have this kind of tealy blue colour, and that's showing up pretty true to colour on camera. So the Ace of Cups, the Two of Cups, I just love how they're holding each other's hearts in their hands. And again, the gender is fairly ambiguous in these cards. Then the Three of Cups, which is very interesting. I'm not sure what's happening here with this character. This bonfire. And the Four of Cups. So that you can see an influence of a range of world cultures and peoples in these cards. Although, as you can clearly see, there's a dominance of this sort of shaven-headed character, the Five of Cups. Quite interesting. Some of the cards, like that one, is a little bit more of a sinister feel to it. Like, is this character taking the cups away? Or this I find very beautiful. Like the child playing, but the ancestor maybe in the background, sort of almost like a ghost or a guardian. I really like that card. The Seven of Cups, which again has a little bit of a different feel to the usual Seven of Cups. I see that's like a wishbone hanging over the well, or the space is like a wishing well, but the buckets are going down into the silhouette of a head. So it's like going down into your depths, you know, what's going to come up, or making a wish, which bucket's going to come up. Some of these cards have layers to them that I haven't really, you know, quite got my head around yet. And then this Eight of Cups, which is really powerful. It reminds me actually of sort of World War I recruitment posters, where you see the soldier leaving and the family waiting inside the house. And this, you know, it changes the perspective, doesn't it, by adding what's been left behind into the image. And I read online somewhere someone had commented that this symbol is to do with wealth and prosperity, so that the person's leaving not just their family, but, you know, a comfortable home as well. And you can see I didn't mention, sorry, that this is totally matte cardstock, and there's a very slight sheen to it when it hits the light, but they're very matte. Then we have the Nine of Cups. So not a person on their own. In fact, it's a wee bit more reminiscent of a Ten of Cups, where we have the family kind of image for the Nine. And then the Ten of Cups is a similar sort of family image, but with animals this time, which I quite like. And then we have the court cards. So the Daughter of Cups, reading tea leaves. The Son of Cups. It's very kind of archetypal cowboy giving his horse a drink out of his hat. This beautiful Mother of Cups. I remember seeing this when the deck was in creation, and this was one of the reasons I wanted to buy the deck. I think I've mentioned before with other decks that when there's a lovely image of a breastfeeding mother, it always really appeals to me, because you see it portrayed so seldom. And then the Father of Cups, a lovely tender image of father and son, or mentor and mentee, I guess is the word. Yes, because he's broken the cup and he's being sort of comforted. It seems to have fallen out of focus a little bit, so sorry about that. So that's the court for the cups. Then the pentacles. So the Ace of Pentacles, quite traditional. The Two of Pentacles, a beautiful poi dancer, I think, although I could be wrong with the naming or misidentifying that. Then we have the Three of Pentacles, which I think is really fun and reminds me of the witches in Macbeth. And then the Four of Pentacles. So this guy is polishing his pentacles that he's keeping in his locked cupboard. So quite a traditional interpretation in a way, but just visually it's a little bit different. I do like this collaboration of the three coming together in the Three of Pentacles to make something new. And I'll be interested to find out what these sigils mean, because I don't really know yet. Quite a powerful Five of Pentacles, which adds a different perspective. We're used to seeing the poor person, the person who needs help. But the addition of this person walking on by, I find this image quite confronting, and it gives you different places to hold within the image, like, is this you or is this you? It's quite powerful. I like that image a lot. And I like the yellows that he's used for this suit. This is one of my favorite cards in the deck. This made me feel very emotional when I saw it. It was really powerful. That sense of sharing what you have with those in need, but also have it in the relative perspective of these characters on possessions and what you need to have and so on. That's beautiful. The Seven of Pentacles, really nice. And the Eight of Pentacles. So a slightly different picture on what is being created. It's not the manual physical labor of making an object. It's something else is happening here, maybe training or inner mental training or physical training in a martial art or something like that. I'm not fully understanding this image, but I like the kind of different take on it. The Nine of Pentacles looks like a very nice relaxed place, and interestingly it's a man alone at his caravan, not a woman in the garden with this one. And then the Ten of Pentacles, this beautiful multiple generational image. I really love that one. It's that sense of legacy and inheritance and wealth and prosperity, and it's gorgeous. And then our courts then for Pentacles, we have this lovely Daughter of Pentacles who's having a go, mixing a spell, having a try at things. The Son of Pentacles needs to be slow, steady, careful what you're doing, working with the bees. Beautiful Mother of Pentacles teaching the daughter or the granddaughter how to, or just another child, just may not be related obviously. And the Father of Pentacles. So that's the Suit of Pentacles, and then we have the Wands. So lovely Ace of Wands, lovely playful Ace of Wands, Two of Wands, Three of Wands, slightly different. You're not sort of waiting for the ship to come in, you're more out in the ship. Beautiful Four of Wands, I love this. Five of Wands, the Six of Wands. So I'll have to look into what the tradition is with this tattooing, but when the Six of Wands is normally associated with victory and success. So I'm intrigued to see what the relationship is there. I have not looked it up. If there was a guidebook that explained these images a little more, it would be great, but there isn't. Seven of Wands, which is fabulous. It's, the one up against the many. There's an account on Instagram, if I can remember the name of it, that has been given really interesting political readings of tarot, and this is one of the card images that was used to illustrate one of the points they were making. Then the Eight of Wands, the Nine of Wands, and the 10. So again, some of these, as you can see, are quite different interpretations. Like, I don't get the same sense of being overburdened from this image. I don't tend to relate to animal imagery as much as I relate to human imagery. And that sense of being on your last legs but still standing is quite different when you've somebody providing comfort. So these cards would give my reading a slightly different spin, I think. Oh, and I forgot to show the quartz before I packed those away. Beautiful Daughter of Wands, love that. Blank canvas, what are you going to paint? I'm just immediately thinking of Candy, Soul and Soil, and her painting videos that she's been posting recently, her amazing work and playfulness and exploration and trying out new mediums and so on. The Son of Wands, off for an adventure, and I love the cosmic sort of Milky Way in the background. Gorgeous Queen of Wands or Mother of Wands. I love her. The performance. I really identify with the Queen of Wands card as a kind of best self image, because sometimes I perform, not as a belly dancer though, or any kind of dancer, but I love those performance, the kind of archetype of the performer in the Queen of Wands or the Mother of Wands. So I love that one. And the Father of Wands. And then finally into the swords. So Ace of Swords. Obviously King Arthur echoes there. Now, one of the things I'm not super keen on with this deck is that the swords and the cups colouring is so similar. The cups is a slightly more teal blue and the ace is a slightly more kind of icy blue, but they're still quite similar. So to me, they wouldn't show up as different enough in a reading. And it's so colour blocked, this deck. I wish the colour was just slightly more different, but that is a small quibble in what is overall a beautiful deck. The Two of Swords, I love that visioning of the decision. Really, Three of Swords. And I love how the swords are kind of maybe of the mind, or they're not really physically piercing the body. They're just a symbol of the way the person feels. Oh, it's so beautiful. The Four of Swords. Kind of warrior at rest. It's quite a traditional interpretation of the card, but maybe just shown slightly differently. This Five of Swords gets me every time I look at it. I teared up when I first saw this. That concept of you've won, but at what cost is just so powerful. The Six of Swords. So normally have the boat, going away on the boat, but here we have the walking away, maybe more reminiscent of the Eight of Cups in a way. Seven of Swords. Caesar, obviously that's what it's reminiscent of anyway for me. That sense of betrayal, or so again, which side are you on? Are you the person who's being stabbed in the back? Are you one of these conspirators? The Eight of Swords, very powerful, and they've got the key, to take the ball and chain off. Nine of Swords, quite a traditional one, but really strong image. And the Ten of Swords. And then we have our court, amazing Daughter of Swords. I love her. This is the breaking free from the chain. Sorry, I'm having thoughts without saying thoughts, which is not how these videos should go. I was thinking that she looks like a statue who's come to life, like a goddess at a temple, like a statue of a goddess of a temple who's come to life. But yes, me thinking that and not saying it on the video doesn't work very well for this format. The Son of Swords, sense of training or preparing. The Queen of Swords, looking straight at you. And the Father of Swords, King of Swords. So, and you notice they're numbered through to 14 at the top. So when you see the different suits next to each other, I think I do like this in a deck when you see that you can quite easily in a reading tell how many of each suit you've pulled. So that's a feature of this deck that I do like. And the size of the cards doesn't bother me. The one thing I'm not sure about, so let's see, how is it going to shuffle? So you can see the kind of edges of the cards here. Okay, so they're fairly bendy. I do think that there's a bit of a risk of bending and damaging these cards with a riffle. I think I would actually be quite careful with them, because they are they feel soft. I feel like I could quite easily just bend a corner on these decks, on these cards, and you can see the edges are quite rough, because they've been printed like postcards. Sorry, so I think overhand shuffling will be fine, although the edges will probably get a bit more banged up with a bit of use. I think what I would love to see is this deck getting picked up by a mainstream publisher like US Games or somebody, to bring out a proper kind of a deck that's been printed properly, if that, as a usable deck. I'm not saying this isn't a usable deck. I think I will use this deck, and I just love the art, and I think what Rich Black has done creating this deck over such a long time, like, I think it is a really amazing piece of work, and I think it'll add an extra dimension to some of my readings. But I think it's been printed by, I'm speculating that it's been printed by someone who has not previously had any experience of printing a deck, that it's been printed like, these have been printed like little postcards or art cards, and then assembled, as I said, he said on his Instagram, assembled into a deck. So just in terms of like the durability of the cardstock and that sort of presentational elements, I think are, are maybe not as good. Other people have said like they were disappointed because of the money that they paid for the deck. It is quite expensive. It's selling at $100. As a collection of art, it's perfect. As a usable tarot deck, it is a bit fragile. So I would just want to be careful with it. But I don't regret that I bought it. I was really glad to support this project. I'd been following it for such a long time. When I saw that they were for sale, I actually ordered really quickly because I was afraid I would miss it, that they would sell out before I would get one. But I would really be hopeful that, and this would be a deck that if it came out as a mass market deck, published by somebody like US Games, I would buy it, because it would be great to get sort of more usable cardstock. There is no guidebook, as I said. There's just these cards. So these have keywords for each of the cards, which give you a bit of a perspective on, the angle on the card that the creator was thinking of. But this is not something I'm really going to be referring to, because the card depictions are within the wheelhouse of what I understand from the Rider-Waite-Smith. So what I would have found really useful would be a guidebook that had a little, even just like a paragraph in a short guidebook that explained why he took the particular interpretation that he took on a given card, or that explained some of the symbols, like the actual kind of sigil type symbols that have been used in some of the cards. It would be nice to have those explained a little bit. So I think if it came out again with, published differently, printed differently, and with a guide booklet with a bit more information, that is something I would get. But I am really glad I got this. I had a very emotional reaction to it when I initially opened it. I felt really quite choked up by some of these depictions, and I would be really interested to hear what you think of the deck below. If you've stuck with me this long, thank you. I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough. And really, I suppose more than a proper review, this is just my initial thoughts on this deck. But yes, it was one of I had 3 big pre-orders out waiting to come in for the rest of this year, and this is one of those 3 new decks, and I am really pleased with it. And I'm sure you'll be seeing plenty of it on my Instagram going forward. So if you're not already following me, I'm at Hazel Jane Tarot, all one word, over on Instagram. So thank you for joining me, and if you've got this deck or if you have any thoughts of this deck, I'd love to hear what you have to say below. Bye.